Well, Gerard Higgins is now joining us. He's standing in Douglas South. First timer for this, but you're working in government very much so at the minute, aren't you? Or have been in Treasury?
I have been working in Treasury. I've worked in income tax for nearly 39 years, and since 2007 I've been involved in the policy process, dealing with the annual budget and dealing with preparing responses to parliamentary questions, as well as dealing with the online tax side of things.
Well, you've seen the inside of this thing. So what's making you jump? What makes you think you can do it?
Well, I think there's a whole number of issues at the moment, Paul. I'm very concerned about these big ticket issues that we've got at the moment, such as housing. We've got to look after our youth, health service issues such as waiting lists, such as having more services available on Ireland after the pandemic. The OECD initiatives which tax are going to have to deal with, continuing to grow our economy after what's happened with COVID. So there's a whole host of issues, and equally what I do want to see is I want to see a government which is more open and transparent, and we've got to stop these gold-plated schemes. We've got to have more value for money, and politicians have to remember that they are working for the people, they're employed by the people.
I hear some frustration there because, you, as I said, you working in Treasury, you know how to balance the books or how it's got to be done. And some people come up with some great schemes, but there's no way of sort of budgeting for them. Is that something you would be more on top of?
I would like to think that I would be able to contribute and work collaboratively with other members of the House to do that, certainly.
But you did a pay freeze or something for MHKs?
Yes, and I've taken a little bit of stick on social media about this. My proposal is to have a pay freeze for MHKs for the next 5 years, and also, being in receipt of an Isle of Man government pension, I propose there be a reduction to the salary of any MHK who's in that position. Now, I would look to put a private member's bill through to enable that to take place. But if that doesn't happen, I would very much hope it would, and I would hope that from a moral point of view that I would be supported by other members of the House. But if that isn't the case, I would definitely donate the amounts involved to charity.
It's quite controversial. Some people think maybe MHKs need more money to get the calibre right. I mean, freezing it, and what do you think? I mean, do you think they're overpaid?
I think it's probably a fair amount that they receive, but how can they take pay increases at the current time when we have got people who are reliant on food banks? There are businesses and individuals who've suffered because of COVID. We really have to make sure that we're out there supporting them.
Okay, so on doorstep, is this, besides that, what are you hearing? What's the Douglas South stories?
Well, at the moment, my plan at the moment is I'm getting introductory letters out to everybody, and I'm hoping to do that actually over the next few days and whiz around the entire constituency. And then I'm spending 6 weeks solid campaigning. It's going to be door-to-door campaigning for 6 weeks. I'll be socially distancing, I'll have a mask available, obviously, but that's my plan for the next 6 weeks, and get a manifesto out probably towards the end of this month. It's drafted, it's just a case of a few little bits and pieces to finish it off. But Kate, what I'm hearing back from constituents at the moment is very much the sort of issues that I mentioned at the outset there. It's housing, it's our young people, making sure that we're getting them jobs, supporting them in education. Those are the sort of issues that I'm hearing. And
they're all pretty national, I suppose, really.
Yes.
Have you got local issues in Douglas South, though?
There are local issues, and they can be down to, well, the two current members. I'm fully supportive of them, the work that they've done.
Oh, you are? I mean, I was asking the usual...
No, I'm fully supportive of them with what they've done, particularly with regard to the Snaefell Group practice, and we've got to make sure that we have adequate health services within the constituency. We also need to deal with road safety and housing issues. Numerous issues are coming up as I'm talking to people.
If you were successful, I'm going to say you want to go to Treasury, I'm guessing. Would that be your natural fit?
Well, it would depend, obviously, what the composition of the next administration was and what I was offered. I think it would be down to who we have as Chief Minister. I would be looking to support a Chief Minister who is a strategic leader, who is a visionary and is listening to the people. And, I would serve under an appropriate Chief Minister. Who that may be at the moment, I don't know. But
who would you like? I mean, I always ask everyone this. I mean, who if you had the choice? I mean, it's got to be someone with no doubt that's already in there. So, do you want to say who you'd like?
I really wouldn't at the moment, because you don't know who is going to be elected. But what I am pushing for in my manifesto, although we won't be able to have it this time round, would be a publicly elected Chief Minister. We couldn't have it on this occasion, but what I would promise constituents is that I would hold a public meeting between when the nominations are made and when the vote is held in Tynwald. I think in Keys, which I think will be the second week of October, and I would invite the candidates to come along. If they don't, at least I'm getting feedback from the constituents.
Well, it will be someone in there already, right? So you must have some ideas. I can say you don't want to say anything more than that at this minute, but you'll be definitely looking for this sort of strong leadership thing. I mean, what's that even mean? I mean, actually, everyone will say they're going to be strong.
Well, strong leadership, what I'm meaning is someone who is prepared to really support the whole host of ideas that I have got in my manifesto. I accept that everything there wouldn't necessarily receive the support of that individual, but I'm wanting to see reform, I'm wanting to see us moving forward, and when I say strong leadership, I want someone who's out there communicating with the public, having this openness and talking to the public, not turning around and saying, well, this scheme costs X, or when you ask what the cost is of a scheme, you're not being told that information, or you go along to a news conference, the media ask questions and they're not being answered. I want to see real openness and transparency, because that's what the public deserve. Okay, well,
it's a Douglas question about the promenade and that sort of thing. Is that one of those examples where things have gone completely out of control?
Yes, and we can name many others, I would say. You know, it could be the NSC, it could be Vision 9. We're going along with all of these schemes when, there's everything from potholes to waiting lists to making sure that we have got affordable housing for young people. And that's another thing which really drives me mad, is that people are coming up with just these sound bites of, affordable housing. Well, my manifesto's going to set out 3 or 4 ideas of how we should deal with that.
Yeah. Well, 010 must be also in there for financing the Isle of Man, financing all the projects. What's your views?
Well, with regard to 010, we've recently had the OECD Pillars 1
Going
and
to
Pillars
15.
2. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure at this moment in time that that's going to necessarily, because the way the bar's been set, affect many businesses on the island. But what we do have to do is we will always have to take steps to ensure that if we do go for some positive rate of tax, that whether it be through some compensation scheme or whether it be through some double taxation relief, that we make sure that those businesses are no worse off. Because what we have to do is we have to retain those businesses on the island because of the revenue that they bring in through tax, through national insurance, and equally as importantly, the spend in the economy and part of the VAT sharing agreement.
Yeah, you would obviously, as I say, Treasury. I mean, would you like to be the Treasury Minister or something like that?
Oh, I certainly.
Well, this is your fit, isn't it? I was sorry pushing on this because it seems like that's your obvious place.
I think those people who know me know I'm quite a humble person. What I want to do is get out there and make sure that I'm doing the right thing for the constituents of Douglas South if I was fortunate enough to be elected, and it's a case that I would not necessarily see myself in a ministerial role. I'm not. But
eventually, you're working with the government, not outside. You wouldn't be just a backbencher. You want to be inside.
Well, it would depend on the way in which that government's going, because the government at the moment goes down a route of you have no say on who the chief minister is. We've got a Combe block vote. That to me is absolutely ridiculous. I want to see more democracy, and would I be part of a government that was like that? Not necessarily. So I'm not sitting on the fence, but at the moment, the current structure, I couldn't necessarily see myself unless you had a chief minister and a council of ministers that was looking at positive reform and listening to the needs of the people. I couldn't necessarily see myself being part and parcel of that.
Now, everyone thinks you make big changes very quickly. You've seen what kind of goes on. I mean, things aren't as easy as it seems to get your policies through, isn't it? Frustration sets in, doesn't it?
I would hope
that?
I'm quite a resolute individual. I would be out there talking to the public, talking to all the members. I think it's very important to have a clear agenda out there. I'm putting policies on the table, a whole host of policies. I admit that they won't necessarily all take place, but I think it's important.
But you're going to finance them all, are you? You're going to break it down?
I'm going to break it down. I'm saying where the savings are going to be, where we are going to be able to spend more, whether we're going to be able to spend less. That's all going to be detailed in the manifesto, and I do hope that other candidates are going to do that as well.
Full-time position for you, or
full-time position? As far as I'm concerned, I'd be available 365 days a year. I think being a politician, you have to do that, and I would have the commitment to do that.